to you as a guest, or you're gonna tell them who gave you the red, white, and blue banners.
Well,
No, who? Not well,
no,
who?
I'm not gonna tell you.
Okay.
But one thing is, I didn't know until I come to the school that about those banners.
They were a surprise gift from your boss.
Oh, no, if you think it's Ronnie, you're all wet.
No, they were Jason Coles.
Huh?
They were Jason.
I didn't say, but it isn't Ronnie.
They were Jason because he made the same
You told me
banner.
they were from your boss.
No, they were from
You
Jason because
different
he made the
boss.
same banner, the same people made
Wait
the
a
banners
minute,
for
wait a
Rescue.
minute, I just thought of it. I paid for that.
Oh.
I paid for them, I just thought of it.
You paid Jason for them, so he used the same guy to do his no rescue, his
I
anti-fire
paid for my
rescue.
banners, I just thought of it.
Where did you get them?
Where did I get them? Somebody got them for me, but I paid for them. I just thought of it. I'll show you my check. I'll show you the
It
check,
doesn't matter.
for $200, I paid it.
Paul, I got a comment. You're fitting in well. You're fitting in well.
Ronnie didn't give me anything.
No, Jason Cole did.
Jason
Cole.
got, okay, Jason got the banners for me, but I paid.
Excuse me, I have something to say here.
As a matter of fact, I paid the loan price for everything. If I would have thought of it, I should have gone to Jason, because he knows how to get all this stuff.
Cookie does.
I have something to say here, and I want it to be clearly understood and on the record. I have a very strong suspicion that each of you are being manipulated by two individuals in this town. Both of them who have their own agenda to tear down anything constructive. And I think that is just, I have no words to describe it. I one time had a conversation with
Disgusting.
I had a conversation with you, and you'll remember at the transfer station, I want to keep calling it the dump, but it's the transfer station, about having some backbone and standing up to what he believed was right. And you stood there and you told me I made a mistake.
Isn't that being right? Doing the right
But
thing?
now you
If
need
you
to
do
bring
make a
out your
mistake,
power.
isn't that the way it's
Excuse me.
supposed to be
You
done?
need to remedy your words with actions. That's all I have to say. I sit here and I tremble.
And have
when
I
say
not
You
words.
are
right
a
here in front,
selectman
have I
now.
not right
You
here in front of
represent
this group
7,000
tonight?
people and an $8 million budget,
And you better
and you are being
stop.
manipulated by two skunks or two wolves at the door. Choose whatever you want to describe them. And I'm not going to give up on
When
either
you were
one of
working
you,
with
and I will
Paul
not give
Philbrick.
up going after him.
When you were working with Paul Philbrick and Ben Thompson, you were trustworthy. I counted on you, I trusted your word, and every single person in this room will tell you, I backed you 100% and said Royce is a good man. Every person in this room will tell you that. What you did Thursday night disgusted me, and I don't know if I can trust you, if I can back you, or if I can ever even say your name without disgusting my stomach again. Because what you're allowing to have happen is somebody that almost ran this town into the brink of bankruptcy has now funded your co-workers' signs. We see all over the place in glee how Mr. Cole is saying how he went with his friend Paul Nadeau and went campaigning and went helping him put up signs. Okay? Now, Paul Nadeau is 80 years old. He has the vote of every person over 65 years old because he walked around telling people everything's going to be the same when it was a little quiet community with summer people that came in the summer. That's a lie. It will never be the same because there are almost 7,000 people in this town. And things have to be governed in a way that there are almost 7,000 people in this town. You are a selectman and you have done well your entire term. My advice to you, Mr. Heath, is to continue to do well. Stop thinking about your people at the dump. You're giving your resignation, leave that behind you and become a selectman.
And I have a real concern that you are in an untenable situation. And you're trying very hard to do what's best for the town. I haven't always agreed with what you've done, but I respect what you're trying to do. And to have the other two selectmen ganging up on you and outvoting you, or have the threat that they're going to do that, I don't see how you can survive. I'm worried.
Because we'll be here,
Every meeting,
every meeting,
moves up and up, we'll be here.
as long as it's done legally on the agenda.
We'll take notice.
Well, I don't mind addressing, I mean, if, what you guys have to say, but I don't mind addressing some of the items that you put in front of us tonight. I think one of them, the quickest, probably easiest one, maybe, I don't know what you guys feel, but, as far as the meetings. I will say for the last 2 years that when I came in with Karen Garish, we made a lot of changes in this town. There had been a lot of closed door meetings. So we didn't design this building. I don't like the design of this building. I don't think anybody probably in here does. You know, we're not trying to hide in the back corner, you know. So, but I understand every point you brought forward. I mean, I sit there and go, what if somebody walked into this building with a gun? Where am I heading? I'm not even out the window. You know,
What
or
happens
whatever.
if
You know,
there was
there's
a
no place
fire
to go.
around here?
100%.
We're all trapped.
We're all
back
trapped.
here.
I understand.
We're all trapped.
I agree.
It's
I
not
agree.
acceptable.
Meetings were adjusted at that time. Originally, accommodating the board that there was at the time to Mondays and Tuesdays, and I believe it was Thursday nights if need be. That soon became apparent that in my work schedule, it worked better to be Mondays and Thursdays, and Tuesday was the off. And eventually the Tuesday night meetings that were being done years ago, because everything was being done in behind closed doors. They weren't public meetings, and a lot of things were being done during the day, so they would hold a Tuesday night meeting. Those have dwindled off, and to be honest with you, if there's no agenda, no, I'm all for not calling them. We've been holding meetings Mondays and Thursdays pretty regularly, and quite a few hours. I mean, even after the meeting's adjourned, there's still a lot of work to be done a lot of times. So I'm all for moving this. It's just a matter of working on our schedules. You know, I don't mind probably getting back to 5. I really don't want to start a meeting.
I'm not really concerned with the
Understood.
time, just where.
Well, if we hold it here, which has been the typical, it has to be when the office is closed. So that's gonna be a little bit of a change. So we'll have to pick a different day, we'll have to look at things like that. Or, like you said, I don't know that we can get into school, we could look into things like that.
Have you
But
thought about switching offices?
we've discussed that. I know that's a bigger office.
It's
I
got
get
2 doorways.
2 doorways, yeah, it's
And
just,
that way, if it's small, you can keep
and now's
it
the time to
there.
do it.
And if it's not small, you can kind of move it out here.
Yeah, we've actually had a plan to make some changes and move the code enforcement up to here and you know, not knowing at the time where the town manager was how that was gonna fall. We got a very small office here trying to accommodate a lot of different things, but yeah, that could be a great option too. I just don't know if there's gonna be the seating in there to accommodate, you know, it depends on who's showing up. I love the more interest.
I like this.
I was gonna say, this is much friendlier, no offense, than the last time I had gone to a selectmen's meeting in a little closet.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Budget committee now meets on Monday nights. No, that's not that far away. So there's some things we have to take into consideration. But we'll definitely think about it. Thursday's gonna be a little bit tricky. We'll have to figure out what we're doing, because I think, I'll have to look at the agenda.
Because it's a late night for the office.
It's a late night for the office. I'll have to look at the agenda, but we'll try to accommodate it as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Yep.
I gave you 4.
You and I voted against this building, remember, Chris?
Yeah, I'm actually the one that stopped it, so. So we're not gonna do nothing about reversing what you guys voted on last week?
I have another question.
We're just gonna keep it the way it is now because,
About the benefits thing. My understanding of what the question that was presented to you guys previously was, what Ronnie said was, if I am a full-time employee, I am entitled to benefits. And I have not been a full-time employee in the past, but
no.
if they have to leave and I'm
No.
full-time, now I get,
No.
25 hours.
He wants to work 25 hours and get full
The-
benefits, including a 6-week vacation.
The hours were changed in 2010 with the personnel policy that was signed in place at that time that lowered the hours from 32 full-time equivalency, 32 hours, to 25 hours.
so Ronnie doesn't currently work 25 hours a week at the dump.
29.
29.
So anything over that 25-hour threshold was receiving benefits.
Full-time benefit.
So why wouldn't, why
So-
is it changing Ronnie's benefits? Now I'm really confused. Why would grandfather?
Because the motion with the old board was to bring it up to a standard that was a lot more reasonable for full-time. The problem kind of became also with your road crew, us having to hold back my road crew, very few employees that we had, to 24 hours a week, so they don't start all of a sudden hitting benefit hours because that threshold
So
was
it's
so
not, it's
low.
not something that was in a previous contract that,
So it's been moved to 35 hours full-time equivalency,
Which is standard.
which is federal.
and he asked for a deviance from that.
Correct.
He asked where he stood, and that was where the
Which
question.
would deviate from what's already been approved of by the voters.
So I have to, whether I have my personal opinions.
Right.
I got to leave those at the door a lot of times. I have my selectman opinion, which I try to, I may disagree with something going on the ballot personally. That's not my right to say you can't see it.
Well, my understanding
so-
of something being grandfathered was that
So what I'm
the
hearing
whole
about.
point of a grandfather clause,
Right.
whether it is written or assumed, is that you were in compliance with something or it was in effect prior to a new decision. And at the point a new decision is made, if you already had something in place prior, that remains in place because you were in compliance or under contract prior to the new rule. So you're automatically grandfathered if it's already in place before the new rule comes in.
There's no automatic. If it's not addressed at the time the motion was made, which it wasn't, there was no intention to grandfather anything. It was reversed and changed Thursday night to grandfather that one individual.
The minute that he had two of his workers replaced.
Can you refresh me and tell me how that vote went? Who voted for, who voted against, or did you?
Was that your
all in
understanding,
favor of
Royce,
it?
of what you were voting on? It was not. Okay, so you were completely,
I
what
was
you thought you were voting
understanding,
on then is not what's.
I was understanding that we were voting on the acceptance of that letter.
That
I'm afraid-
acknowledging
I
the
don't know.
letter and that he was asking for.
My apologies to everyone on
Yeah.
that, because no, I did not
Bill.
vote for it.
So are we then taking the motion to throw that out and revert back to the 35 hours?
That's
Is what I'm
entirely up
asking.
to
I'd
you.
like to see one of your
That's
selectmen.
a question that really is up to the board.
I'd like to see one of your selectmen make that motion to revert back to 35 hours until you can have a discussion in a public forum and vote on that in a public forum. I'd like to see that motion right now in good faith.
Right, because what I'm looking at is, Ronnie came in and asked for more than what was approved of by the voters budget. So automatically, what authority do
No.
any selectmen have
No, it was,
to
no,
change
no,
benefits?
no.
It was selectmen's vote.
Yeah, no, it was already something that was in place.
Yeah.
Okay, and all it dealt with at that point in time, what was vacation time. Okay, is what we really were dealing with. So he was already getting it, when that threshold got moved, it disqualified code enforcement, which is that's the time to look at that, because we were in between code enforcement officers right now. Same with the road commissioner. That was why there was a holdback from the board, one reason I should say, to not appoint someone as road commissioner, because we had a mess in that department we needed to clean up. And the town just cleaned up an awful big part of that, the benefits that were slowly being, I need this and I want this. That nobody ever got a chance to vote on, and one way or the other, it's up to the people, what's gonna happen in that elected position. So now we've fixed that part of that issue. So the same thing with codes. Codes was getting benefits. Granted, we don't pay a lot, we don't offer a whole lot, and we ask an awful lot out of people in this town. So sometimes it makes it difficult. But that's where we ended up, and that threshold was moved. Those positions lost those benefits. It allowed us to use road crew personnel that were being held back to 24 hours. It's all I can work yet. Once in a while go over, but we can't, continuously. Otherwise, I got to offer you a benefits package. Now I can allow them to work 34 hours and not get that benefits. And it helps out a lot as far as the other employees of the town. This was a massive hindrance. Who, on God's green earth, thinks 25 hours is full time? Anywhere.
Transfer station.
Chip had a question real quick.
Oh, just a couple thoughts. Clarify your point though, the benefits, the amount of hours, that was only a selectman vote? So it's not the people never voted on that?
Correct.
even on a budget, it doesn't, that's not part of the budget per se.
Yeah,
So the number of hours is a policy decision.
It was amendment to the personnel policy.
And so there's actually an argument that can be made that what was done in 2010 is void because Ronnie signed it for himself. So there's actually a whole legal question whether that's even valid. So if you grandfather him, it's actually grandfathered before that, since that's void. So I'm not even sure, there's a good legal question there. But we won't go there, that gets complicated. But the point is that what was changed was to get more in line with the full-time, which is 35 hours. He doesn't want to work 35, he wants to work 29, he still wants to collect his vacation. And so that's why he sent the letter.
6 weeks vacation.
6 weeks vacation, which is for a
6
part-time
weeks.
employee. So that's the issue, and the issue actually isn't the motion. Ronnie can ask. The whole issue here really is that these two people voted for it. They voted to give their boss benefits.
right,
And
well,
if either one of you,
I don't know about.
if either one of you says you're correct, that's a conflict of interest, which again, you just said I'm guilty, then therefore you should stand right up now and say, that vote is null and void, let's do it again. Because that's all this is all about.
Right,
You know
that's
what
all
I'm
this is about, is
Right.
a misunderstanding, if you will, that happened previously. We misinterpreted what was presented as we're acknowledging a letter, and instead it was taken as we're making a change. So what's being asked is, are we going to recall the decision that we made previously because we were misinformed or confused?
Sandy, did you get your question answered?
Right? Is that what I hear you say?
It's gonna be simple, I voted no.
I'm mulling it all over.
Could you, one of you please
I
make
think
that
that,
motion?
I agree, I think you should stand up and,
I'm counting on you, Royce, to be the man and speak
come
up.
on, I told you
because know
before,
he's gonna come.
have a backbone, this is your opportunity to show us what kind of a man you are. Leave Mr. Nadeau sitting there for the.
And I'm gonna tell you that if one of you doesn't stand up and do it really quick, I will be filing a motion for you to remove because of conflict of interest. And I have already talked to a lawyer, and I do have people in this town that are willing to fund that. So, just so that you know where you stand. You know I don't dink around, Royce, or whatever you mean. So, I would consider it quickly.
I've already said where I stand.
Say
So are you
it again.
going to remove that? Are you going to, motion to remove the 25 hours and revert back to the 35 hours?
I would prefer, since I didn't make this motion in the first place, that the person that made
So
that
you're
motion-
backing out
No, wait a
and not
minute,
doing
I
it.
would just simply prefer that the person that made this motion in the first place make it again.
So Mr. Nadeau?
I beg your pardon? I didn't make the motion.
Right.
You did
But
make a
wait
motion.
a minute. You know, I work, for a living, and I'm sitting here.
This
Now,
is
wait a
your
minute,
mind.
let me talk.
Mm.
And after I'm retired, I got a lot of benefits cut, and that kinda upset me.
Mm-hmm.
My insurance and so forth.
Understand.
And I don't like to go and do that. That's probably the reason why I,
Sir, did you work 25 hours a week or 29 hours a week and get full-time benefits and 6
we
weeks
don't have
worth
no
of vacation?
benefits.
No, of course
I don't,
not.
no, I only work, 11 hours a week.
So Mr. Patch was selectman at the time, am I correct?
Yeah.
When this
Time of
whole-
what?
Excuse me?
The
When
time-
this whole benefit, the hours issue came up, that's before you.
No, what
started.
is the issue now is that you've acted in conflict of interest. It's been made clear to you that you have acted, you, Paul Nadeau, and Royce Heath have acted in conflict of interest in the town of Lebanon, Maine, and I'm asking you now to revert your motion to move it back to 24 hours, and I'm telling you that if you don't, I will make a motion with the Alfred Maine Superior Court on Monday morning to have you removed as selectman.
What I heard Roy say was he didn't want to make the initial motion, really, he understands what you're saying, and he's going to be corrected, he wants to go Thompson to me.
No, he wants
Right?
Nadeau.
Then Thompson.
No, Nadeau.
Nadeau.
Nadeau, right.
Ben just brought it up because he was wondering what they were going to do about the situation.
No, I was
Right.
trying to explain earlier, anything, doesn't matter where I stand personally.
Yeah.
If something comes before this board, I need to throw it before the whole board. That's my responsibility. You know, it's not my responsibility to, oh, I'm gonna hide this letter and we won't even discuss this, because I'm against that. You know, it has to be brought up before the whole board, and that's what happened tonight. Chip?
Paul, I understand you think of any lost benefits. And and that's fine, I do understand that. What you have to look at sometimes is instead of your personal hat, you gotta put on this other hat for as selectmen, cause you're governing all of our money, our taxpayers' money. There's no place out there that municipality or any business, that you can get 6 weeks of vacation pay working part-time hours. There's no place out there except Lebanon Maine right now. That's not fair to our taxpayer money. If that was commonplace out there, no problem, if that's what if the voters want to do that. But there's no place that does that. So while he may have that, he may have lost that, the question is he actually shouldn't have gotten those to begin with because he changed the policy that was illegal. When he originally changed it in 2010, he wanted to reduce his hours. He was full-time and he wanted to reduce them, but he still wanted to get his cake and eat it too. So he changed the policy so that he could get his cake and eat it too and work less hours. That's not fair, and you know that. That's not fair. No matter how much you like the guy, you know that's not fair. So the thing is they're trying to get standardized. So all the people in town that work, the road employees and everything else. So if there's a road person that works 29 hours, why shouldn't he get benefits if Ronnie is up there getting benefits? That's not fair. So what I'm saying is you're playing favoritism to your buddy up there, which is maybe the way it used to be the old days, back 50 years ago. It was a good old boys club. And it was wrong. Things change, it's wrong, and you know that in your heart that's wrong. So my point is that we can all call for you guys to make that vote different, make that vote. My guess is it was a motion, it passed. It's been 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. So you make another motion. You make a motion that full-time hours are now considered 35 hours a week, no grandfather, period. End of discussion. You guys can either abstain or vote if you want again. It doesn't matter to me, but that fixes it.
I don't think this.
Do you know what I'm saying? That, because again, putting it back to 35 fixes the issue. It takes care of taxpayers' money, my money, not just your money. You want to pay his vacation, go for it. Give him a check. Here's money, go on vacation. You can do that. But who gives you that authority to do that with my money and his money and his money and all of our money and everybody in town? You got 300, 400 votes out of 7,000 people. I don't care how many votes you got, but you got to look after 7,000 people or 6,000 or whatever the number is. It's their people's money that you're spending. That's my point. And you need to see that. And I know you know it. But I also know you I want him to have that. You're a kind person. I do know that. But you can't be that way. You can't otherwise, I mean, let's give out benefits to everybody.
I'll have some.
I mean, it's not right. That's our money. And you need to be a fiduciary of our money. And being a conflict, that's all. So there's two issues. One, you should never have voted on it because there was a conflict. But two, to roll it back for anybody or even to roll it back is not right because you're wasting our taxpayers' money. The way to fix both of those is you both vote in favor of a policy that makes 35 hours, or whatever the original policy was, the policy for full-time hours with benefits. Nobody's grandfathered. Nobody's singled out being grandfathered in. That's the way you solve it. That makes the other one go away. Doesn't matter. And then you move forward. And you put a selectman's hat on, and you leave your personal one at home. But you got to put a selectman's hat on when you're here making those decisions. I'm done.
I'll make a suggestion. Why don't we revert back the way it used to be and have the voters decide next year? Because we just decided not to give the selectmen benefits and the road commission benefits. Why wouldn't taxpayers have a say on where we're spending our money on something like this?
No, I agree with that.
Why not revert it back the way it was and put it on the ballot in June?
I agree with you.
Okay, then
and
make
have
that
us decide.
motion.
Then make a motion.
Revert back to what? The 25? No, 35.
That's my suggestion, Ben. Let us decide. We're the one that's flipping the bill for this.
Right.
Like Chip said, Paul wants to give Ronnie 6 weeks vacation. Let him take it out of his pocket, not mine.
or the 300 and something for the vote for.
We just went up how much on our taxes?
$1.10 or whatever, we don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So will you make that motion, Mr. Nadeau?
To what?
You don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't care, I know what you're
He
talking
hasn't
about.
heard a word you said.
No, I know what you're talking about. You're saying to put it on the next June ballot.
That's right.
After you put it back to the 35 hours a week.
Make a motion that you have acted in conflict of interest and that you'd like to reverse the vote to 35 hours for a full-time employee.
Paul,
Because you did
throw some
use
balls
one.
and stand up and do what's right for the taxpayers.
Please.
I'm not worried about Ronnie up at the dump,
Or Jason.
okay? Throw some balls, that's what we voted you for. Not to benefit your friends. It's our money, not your money, not their money. It's our tax money. And if you're not in that position to do that, then you should resign right now.
A final motion to reverse the decision made at the previous meeting.
Whatever you guys want to, I mean,
Why don't you
let me make a motion.
we'll decline.
Okay, you make the motion.
Thank you. You're gonna read the same motion?
I'm gonna reverse the motion that was made.
Do you wanna do it that way versus make a brand new motion?
Absolutely, I gotta erase this one out of the book.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll throw a motion on the table to reverse the decision to grandfather all current employee benefits at the transfer station from any change from 25 hours full-time equivalency to 35-hour full-time equivalency. You know, we will reverse this, giving benefits to that position. I'm not sure how you want to word that. I have to think about it for a second.
Just say it again.
I think it should revert back to 35 hours a week till the election back in June of next year.
The easiest way to do that, you can make a motion to make that motion null and void, period.
Right, got it. That's
And
exactly what you wanna do.
And then that voids it, and so the one
Why don't you
previous.
make the same motion?
And to,
Abstain
you
from
need to put
voting.
in there not to,
Well, you can make it
can't
null and
vote on
void.
anything,
You can
you're
still
gonna put it
abstain
in front
from
of
that.
voters.
You can still abstain from that, because again, it affects, that motion affects benefits for employees, and at the time, you guys were both employees.
Right.
So whether you were actually at the transfer station or not, a benefits package as employees, you still need to abstain because it could affect you.
They're still employees now, Jeff.
Exactly, that's why they still have to abstain.
Right.
And Ben makes that decision, and then it reverses, it goes null and void.
Pat, go on in, have a seat, or I'm gonna finish up here shortly. Thank you, a couple things going on.
I'm not just saying null and void.
Yeah, and you probably wanna add into the motion that, it can't be, reversed back and forth, that it goes in front of the voters.
We don't have to do that.
Next June.
Yeah, you
No,
do.
you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and it's not to be brought back up
Next
until
June.
properly put on a ballot.
Please include it.
That's if you wanna have ours on a ballot, I'm not sure, I think you might wanna discuss that more.
No, it probably would have to go by position.
Well, my
Remember, you
point
just
is,
redid
my
road-
point is you don't want people going 35 hours, 32 hours, 29 hours, again, depending on who the selectmen are. Do we really want that going on ballot every single year? I'm not sure you do. I'm just saying, so I would give that more thought, and that might not be able to put that into this motion.
Into this particular, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Is
We're just making this one now.
35
This
is like
all
a
being
normal.
recorded, so we all know, so I mean, again,
Right,
I would give them some flexibility to.
I mean, I'm part-time and we can't go over 29 hours.
Yeah,
Okay, so 35 is the accepted norm for full-time employees?
right.
It should be stated though, Ben, that the town taxpayers should vote on that.
Then if
The
you
point
want
was,
to
they don't
consult-
want somebody
if you
coming
wanna
in with the
consult
same
with legal,
letter
we'll
in
do it
2
another
weeks
date.
and making the same request.
I
Correct.
think
They're trying
that's
to
gonna be
address that, don't
clear here.
bring it up again in the near future, I think.
Ben, could I ask another question? Do you know, as former employees of the transfer station, how long is it, how long does protocol call for before they can start making decisions back, back for the transfer station? I'm just really concerned. I mean, the buddy is
Immediately.
there
There's no
for years and years.
Without
There is
pol-
no conflict the minute that they don't work
Without a
there?
policy in place, no.
Okay, thank you.
Need a charter.
We need a charter. Thank you.
The question comes up, there's always this, what they call perceived conflict of interest.
Mhm.
And so, if you're honestly trying to do the right thing, you have to understand how other people will view it. And if they view it as a perceived conflict,
So you're,
one,
go ahead, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get clarification with Chris. So your point was that, what's going back to the voters? The hours or the benefits? Like overall, I mean, because we're talking like the whole personnel
The
policy.
the same thing that we just voted against about the selectmen and the road commission.
To benefits.
Exactly.
To benefits, yeah.
We're paying for it, Ben, so why shouldn't we?
No, I mean,
decide?
that's easier, and I just wanna make sure, I'm gonna put it right in here, so that's why,
you do full-time benefits are offered to employees that work 35 hours or more. Is that how you're gonna word it? Something like that?
Yeah.
You have 6 months, we'll have to figure it out.
I mean,
A year, sorry.
But I'm just, I guess my point is we, it's part of the budget, but literally, if it were to get enough no votes, everybody, all the town employees lose their benefits. I mean, yeah, you can say, oh, well, but I'm not,
Well, if they're working under 25 hours, they're only working
No.
part-time anyway.
Again, if they voted against the 35 hours, then there's no, what's the offset?
Yeah, I would say that
29.
it would have to be, something that would come between the selectmen and the budget
I'm
committee in
just,
order
I'm
to
just saying,
decide how to
as an
work
employee, if my benefits were always dependent year after year on a town vote, I'm not, that's a negative for attracting talent.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I'm not sure what happens if the town is the residents are all pissed off and I'm not sure I want that on the ballot. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's my point is that.
Yeah, well, that shouldn't be decided tonight anyway. That's not for
No,
us
but
to do.
that's my
That's
point is
budget
The
committee
problem
and
is, Chip, how many
selectmen
actually
to do
people
that.
are actually full-time employees for the town? Besides the town hall.
The town hall, yeah, right. No, I mean, right now, but I mean, I'm just saying is that's why I would try
Yeah,
not to.
but like
do
I
that.
said, we are the residents, we don't have to deal with that. That's like for you budget committee and the selectmen to hash that out later, how to word that and how to figure it out. But for right now, these two men should not be voting on how to fund benefits for one.
I thought there was a limit of dollar amount that selectmen were allowed to
10,000, they can do that, but that's
vote
not.
on.
Yeah, but that's like buying something. It's like buying a truck or buying, it's not really, it's not.
By the
Right,
way,
but what I'm saying
some
is-
of you that have been around, for a while,
Yeah.
if you get a copy of that ordinance, I've been looking for it for 2 years.
Copy of what?
The $10,000 limit, because I can't find it, I mean.
Right, well, it used to be 4,500 if you wanna know, and if I
Yeah.
really dug hard,
No, I
I
really
could
would
find
like-
the ordinance books, cause I have a question.
I think a lot of things got
And-
lost, if you will, when the move happened, so.
Not to like totally change
love it.
subject, but since it came up, if any person were to come into this town office at any given time when they're open for business and said, can I please purchase a town ordinance book? Is that something that is readily available now, or is that still, will you have to make an appointment and wait for somebody to make photocopies of it and come back in a couple business days? What's the status on that? I'm not talking about a town report, I'm
No,
talking
the
about
ordinance
a town
book,
ordinance.
I'd have to get back to you on that, I'm not 100% sure.
Alright,
I
I'll tell
know,
you, last summer,
Yep.
when it came up, prior to anybody getting their feathers all ruffled, I was unable to obtain such a document. I was thoroughly disgusted by it. And when I said, well, we don't just have those things typed up and ready for people to buy, I'm like, oh really?
Used to.
Well, I'll tell you what, when Steve Brown was buying and chopping up everything, questionable with little meetings and whatnot going on a long time ago, they had a really nice one with a green cover and everything, and they handed it to me like that. I made a snide comment, okay, from the person who doesn't work here anymore, and what I got was, oh, well, that cost $18 to buy it, and I said, yeah, that's fine, no problem, and I paid the $18.
I did get one myself back in
So,
2005.
I think it's actually a requirement that they are supposed to be readily available for purchase.
All right, let's get back on task. We do have an agenda to keep.
Sorry, but,
So I guess it's on me to make this motion. So I will make the motion to reverse the motion voted and passed on June 11th, 2015, which provided grandfathered benefits to current transfer station employees to become null and void effective immediately, any future deviations from the current 35-hour full-time equivalency other than by federal or state law shall be presented before the voters of the town.
That's perfect.
Motion's on the table.
I formally refuse and recuse myself from any vote or motion at this time because it is mentioned in the transfer station.
Does somebody have to second it? Do they have to recuse from seconding it?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm asking, I honestly don't know.
yeah, there are citizens at the, it does actually, fall into you, Ben, to make this decision.
Good.
You're seconding that, Mr. Nadeau?
Huh?
You're seconding that motion?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We're
Mr.
gonna
Nadeau.
vote now.
That was, yeah.
Correct. Okay. So I made the motion, we needed a second, so, okay, you seconded it. Thank you. So all in favor to reverse this motion, that motion
Two recuse.
would be myself, one, to recuse themselves.
Perfect. But we had two more motions on 611 that came out of that package, and I feel they were both are also illegally voted upon because they were not noted on the selectmen's agenda. So you need to, I'm sorry to keep you for all you good folks, but I'm really not prepared to go home until they're taken on.
Then I'm gonna suspend that for now because we do have an appointment for 6:30 and he's sitting here, so I don't wanna hold him up. I'm more than happy to readdress the issue
Okay.
after he's
So
done. Okay.
you're asking us to like take a break and you'll come back?
No, I mean, you're welcome to do whatever you want. We're continuing on in public forum, public meeting, so you're welcome to sit and observe. I do have a 6:30 appointment, which we're gonna keep.
But I'm saying that we'll revisit this.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Stop and then slide that up to turn it off.
Okay.
And then you get it back to you.
Thank you.
I ain't hanging around.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, Chip.
One down, two down.
We have a training that we have to go to.
We have
It's at
Pat
7.
McLaughlin.
It's on and it's plugged in. If you just want
The
to
New
sit
Covenant
here
Church
or figure
in
out
North
how
Florida,
to
I believe,
stand
right?
up or something, the
Actually,
microphone is right here.
My name's Pat
Right,
McLaughlin.
and it's
I'm
recorded.
here
So if you
representing
just leave
the
it, if you don't
food
mind.
pantry in North Berwick. It serves North Berwick and Lebanon. And the purpose of my visit is to, we're trying to increase the awareness of the food pantry in North Berwick that serves both communities. It's housed at the New Covenant Church. And in the basement of the New Covenant Church. And we're open every Monday.
Excuse me.
We're open every Monday from 4 to 6. And currently we serve over 300 people in the two communities. We serve over 200 families in the two communities. And we found that our director is very good at having product donated to us, and we have more food than we can use, and that we can, give to people. So we're trying to increase the awareness, so we have more families using us. And one of the reasons I wanted to come here, and here's just a handout for each one of you, just gives you a few of the details, and I have more if anyone would like them. But we thought that we might like to, we would once a month, in addition to this, our current hours, come over here with your permission and distribute food here, one day a month for an hour or two, or however. But as we talked about it more, we were wondering how we could get the word out that it was going to be here. I talked to Susan Collins in your office, who's been very helpful to me. I've met with her several times, and she has been giving these pamphlets out
Yes.
to anyone that might want them, and that you've allowed us to put it on your counter, which I believe.
We have a couple days of school left,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Is there any possible way that those could be distributed,
Well,
at least in the elementary school?
what
before
we've
the kids
done-
are out for school? Because I'm very familiar with your food pantry.
Yeah.
Both my parents are members of your church.
Okay.
I have gone to your food pantry and brought a lot of people who don't
Right.
have rides and vehicles in the past. And they're a fabulous organization.
Yeah.
And when they say they have an excess of food, they do. And there's a lot of kids who,
Yeah,
you know, don't get the meals.
yeah. We've,
And if there's any
actually-
way to get that out into Lebanon Elementary, because you don't serve Berwick, correct? You serve
North
North
Berwick and
Berwick
Lebanon.
and Lebanon, yep.
Well, may I interject
Oh.
something here?
Hold on, this isn't open for public participation right now, so.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to interject
I will
because
let you,
I'm
but-
very familiar with them, and I know we got hungry kids, and if there's any way,
It's not a bad idea.
Okay.
I'll let you continue.
We've distributed that in the schools on 2 different occasions. Not every family in your schools, in your primary school and, well, both schools,
Both schools,
Berwick, yeah.
okay.
And we've done the same in North Berwick. We've done a lot of things, like put it on the websites and things like that, but it's a good idea. I don't know if you're
I'm
ready to
personally
do
willing to
that.
volunteer my time anytime you need me to help you distribute
Okay.
food in Lebanon, whether
Thank
it's
you.
transportation,
But
a man,
I guess,
whatever it is, and I think whatever it is you're asking for, I
Yeah.
hope they can
Well,
accommodate you.
again, we were gonna ask them for permission to be able to distribute it here, but the problem we're faced with is we don't really know how to get the word out, to say, okay, we'll be here every Tuesday at,
That's what I do.
If it's consistent, yeah, if it's consistent, you know, if it was gonna be
well,
the third Wednesday, the third, whatever, you
well,
know.
we're willing to make it consistent.
Yep.
If, we felt we could get the word out, and if, I'm willing to try it for a couple of weeks
Yep.
to see if it works.
Yep.
I guess I'm asking you people, if, first of all, if we could do it. Secondly, if there's a convenient day or time that we can not interrupt things here. It might be good to have it when,
We're closed on Wednesdays in the office here,
okay,
so I don't know how that works for you guys, but
we'd be outside anyway.
yeah, the whole office is completely shut down, there's
Yeah.
nobody here on
Yeah.
Wednesday.
So you'd be distributing everything right out of trucks or vehicles?
Well, we have a van
Yeah,
that we would distribute it from initially.
yeah.
Then if it worked and we have a van and a trailer that we could bring over, you know, if the demand is there. The other thing we're willing to do is if you people had a number of needy families that either are shut-ins and can't get out to get to us, or don't have transportation, you know, we're willing to deliver to them. But,
Nice.
you know, we
Yeah, so I mean, you guys
We'll
are
do that.
fabulous.
so, I don't know how that could be organized, but, I don't know if your people with privacy, would be allowed to, well, for us to contact them, I'm sure no, but if you contacted them, I don't know if that's doable.
You know,
Or if they
like a
sign up.
Sign-up sheet would be great, for something
Yeah.
like that, let them sign up and.
Yeah.
and,
If you could get it to them, so.
Yep.
I don't know, I guess I'm open to any suggestions from you people, and I'm here to, ask if we can, again, we just want to increase the awareness and make it more, available.
We do have many,
Yeah, we do.
Facebook pages of, you know,
No.
self-made, journalists in town.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna be distributing my eggs.
That would help to get the information out,
Oh, are you Deborah?
I am
Oh,
Pat,
okay.
nice to meet you.
Are you
Yeah.
affiliated with the food pantry up at the Congregational Church?
That was gonna be my next question.
No, we're not. We, again, I've been a volunteer here for a year and a half, and I found out about it through the town office. They said I wanted to start volunteering somewhere, and they sent me up there. It's, again, it's housed at the New Covenant Church, but there's no real, you know, you don't have to be a member to.
Well, it seems like we already have a food pantry, maybe you should.
Oh my God, Becky, don't do it now.
We do.
We don't have a food pantry?
Let me, The
One thing we
difference in the
do-
food pantry, if I could just speak from it, being a past recipient of the food pantry. The food pantry here in town, they don't have a lot of access to fresh meat, to fresh vegetables. It's mostly canned items and boxed items. This particular group is also offering fresh meat, fresh vegetables, fresh eggs, fresh foods, fresh. So most towns or cities don't have only one access for food. Most towns or cities have multiple access for people who don't have enough to get food. And we have one, and there's nothing fresh coming out of it.
I think what she.
It's staple
right
items.
here
I'm
is
not knocking them,
she
it's
wants to
just
make
too
sure we're not
different.
stepping on the other church's toes.
Or
Right.
duplicating
It's
it.
just too
Alright.
different.
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, can we bring this back around, please?
Right.
We need to go through this.
We got 100 people in town, who's got extra food?
Jerry,
Mhm.
please,
Yeah.
please. Okay, yes.
So,
Continue.
thank you. Again, I don't know how to leave this, other than I made you aware of it, and maybe you have some ideas,
Well,
or
good
someone
question.
in the group.
You know, and one of them would be, I guess, where you're dealing with a lot of fresh foods and stuff like that. Is this only summertime, or are you year round? What are you looking at?
We're hoping to do it year round,
Okay.
if there's enough interest. Again, we have a number of families that already come from Lebanon.
Right, how long have you guys been running that food pantry then?
I think, I couldn't answer that question.
Right.
I will
It's
request
years.
from this point forward, though, anybody, please, just wait to be recognized by the chair, okay? Because I need to keep this going, and I don't mind public participation,
Yeah.
but I want to get through the agenda. I would like to get home to my family tonight.
The lady that runs the food pantry there, and I had a very nice conversation. She's been managing the food pantry there for 15 years. And it was, I think she said 2 years prior to her taking it over. So it's, I think 17 years.
Yeah, it was
Oh, that's me. Just ignore.
Oh, it's Deborah.
It's me.
So, should I get back to you, or?
Do you guys have anything to input on this, or questions, or? I mean, I think it's a great opportunity, personally.
Basically, they're just asking to use the front out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably on Wednesdays, no problem.
A day that's convenient for you.
Probably the least amount of problems for you folks would probably be on Wednesday, because the office is closed, so traffic is down, minimum
Unless it's
obviously.
weekend.
What's that?
Unless it's a weekend as well.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
during the week.
Yeah.
Mhm. So it's okay then, if we organize it, and should I get back to you with a day that we'd like to?
Yeah, if you need to go back and check with anybody, absolutely, and if you want to contact Sue to
Yeah.
get information to us, so they haven't come back in, if you're welcome to. come back in, but,
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
she can relay the information to us, absolutely.
Okay,
I'm all for it, and whatever we
Absolutely.
can do to help anybody in this town.
yeah, okay.
We appreciate you guys coming over.
Yeah, sure.
Can I ask a question now?
Yes, Sandy.
SAT 60 has what is known as the backpack program.
Mhm.
Have you participated in
Yes,
that? You have?
yes. We actually have donated a lot of food to that program, and we're gonna continue doing that. We're working with the people that are running it, and it's a,
You know, you said that you deliver.
I
Do
said
you
we
need-
will.
You will. Do you need any volunteers from Lebanon
Well,
to do that?
right now, we have enough, but we don't know how big the demand will be, so we're always willing to, anyone can join us, for sure.
Okay. And who do we contact?
Well, there's 2 names on this sheet. I'll
Oh, may I have one of those sheets, please?
Yeah, I'd be glad to.
I can make extra copies for anybody here. If you've got copies, that's great, but I can make
If you
extras.
could pass those out, if you don't mind. Okay. Well, then I'll try to
Thank you.
organize and get this going somehow,
Yeah, that's great.
if that's all right with you.
Absolutely, yep.
And again, please thank Sue Collins for her help. She's been real good to.
Do you have a copy in simple form? Because Deborah and I would probably like to post this somewhere.
It's already posted on ours.
Well, I'm looking here, yeah, I know, but he says approved residence fund. And a simple form that we could include it on our site, that they could download it, print it out.
Oh, I don't think that they have that yet. They're just asking permission to do it right now. So they haven't organized it yet.
Okay.
Sandy, well, he'll get it to me. He's got my number. He's gonna be seeing me on Mondays, picking up eggs every week, so.
Okay.
So that's where we're gonna leave it, is, you'll get back in touch with us and.
Yeah, we'll
coordinate.
select a day that might be convenient for the people that are volunteering, and if there's any way, maybe you could just ask, if there's any way, that you people could, or your staff could contact, people and let them know, or if there's shut-ins or anybody that needs deliveries, we're willing to do it.
Yeah, that would be,
I don't know.
one thing to definitely think about. So my guess would be a lot of people that would benefit from this, the help would be elderly.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna necessarily always be on Facebook and things, so we'll have
Right,
to look at
right,
other ways to
exactly,
post
that's
it. So,
what I was looking for.
you guys, I don't know what your funding is or what you do, but do you use any of the mass mailers or any of those little postcard mailers? Have you ever done anything like that? I don't even know how much that costs.
No, we haven't, no. Actually, they were just, for the last, they've always just kind of had it word of mouth. So I've been trying to take it to the next step and try to promote it, in, other various methods.
Well, we do have a sign over at the rescue station on 202, which is a great benefit. Most people are usually going by that, so that's, we're talking to the chief about that, and possibly be able to put something up there.
Okay.
Once you do figure out what dates and things, we can
Okay.
advertise it that way, if that's helpful.
Right, I mean, there's several, I'm sure there's ways to advertise it on 202 one way or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Once you guys get straight what day and
Do you
time.
post signs here?
Okay, if, well, should I'll let you know the date, and then, anyone that got a handout, if you could.
I guess, too, I mean, if I drove by, what am I gonna see, a white van parked in the parking lot, or do you guys put banners outside?
Yeah, we'll put some signs out.
Okay. I didn't know that.
We haven't organized it yet, because we didn't know if it was.
Sure. Yeah, I
I
didn't know.
wanted to take the first step.
Okay, so you haven't done it anywhere else before?
No.
Okay, okay.
We haven't done deliveries.
Okay.
If somebody calls and said we need food, we'll go with it.
Okay.
We've done a lot of that.
Okay.
If you contact Tom Nadeau, the principal of the school,
I have.
they've got the 2 signs there. I'm sure he'd put a notice up
Sure,
over
too.
the summer.
Well, that's good.
That would be good too.
Right.
One other question I
Thank you,
have would be
teacher.
insurance. I mean, if you were going on to other people's property and things like that, I would assume you're carrying insurance to do this. I'm just curious, because
Like if their dog bites.
as a town, if
I
we're
have to,
endorsing it, then
Yeah, I have to, check that out.
Yeah, like if somebody bit you, somebody's dog bit you or something.
Check with Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels?
Yeah, definitely check it. Waterloo.
Oh, you
There you
do?
go.
Yeah, in Rochester.
Okay.
And,
Check with them about,
no, yeah, check with them in Sanford, because they deliver over here
okay,
to the elderly. So
Okay.
that would definitely, you definitely want to do that.
to see if, they could.
No,
get
just
word.
to,
Meals
I don't know how
on-
you're gonna do it, but, there's a list of people that could be in need.
Okay, oh, good.
Meals on Wheels delivers an evening meal
Yeah,
one day a week
okay.
to shut-ins.
I'll
Yeah.
contact Meals on Wheels, I'll check the insurance.
But they don't do
Well, I was
breakfast
gonna say,
and
I don't know,
lunch.
there's a thought I've had, there's other things we've
But
run
they don't do
into.
breakfast and lunch.
And Meals on Wheels may be able to push in the right direction
Yeah,
with
that's
insurance.
good, that's
Yeah.
good. Okay, well, if anybody has any ideas, please, you might wanna take my name down too. It's not on the paper, should be. If you don't mind. My
No.
name's Pat.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, go ahead.
My name's Patrick, or Pat. Last name's McLaughlin, McLaughlin. And my cell phone number is 651-3891. And I really appreciate you giving me the time. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Pat.
Yeah, nice meeting you, and I'll talk to you again. Thank you, yeah. Take
Thanks,
care.
Pat.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, you're on the agenda, you're not interrupting.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Take care. His? 651-3891. Okay. Back to revisit.
Okay, let's revisit. So what was the, well, I know we're gonna leave Tommy for last because I have my opinion on that. But what was the second motion made on June 11th? After everybody had gone home, that was not on the agenda.
Road Commissioner
Okay, so purchase order program. I would like to submit that that was also an illegal vote because it was not on the agenda. It contains a policy change for the town. Nobody was allowed to say anything or have any input in it because it was done last minute and without any preparation. Purchase orders in our town are very important. There are a couple of department heads who, even though they've been told they don't have to do purchase orders anymore, they've continued to do purchase orders and receipts. Considering the mess that took our former Board of Selectmen and our new treasurer when she was first added in here to figure out all that crap and where everybody was spending money and what they were spending it on, and it has still to this day not been completely figured out where over $200,000 worth of taxpayer money went to. The purchase order system was put in place to protect us from that, and I think that it is a foul
Beg to differ.
to have
Every
that.
penny's been accounted for. We've said that since it was uncovered and straightened out. It just was misappropriated.
Misappropriate, okay, so misappropriated, but the purchase order system would have prevented that because it would have had to have seen the eyes of the selectmen and then the eyes of the treasurer. So I'm thinking that seeing as Mr. Nadeau was voted in, and then his very first meeting after having his signs paid for by Jason Cole, he comes in and reverses the one thing that Jason Cole left us, which was a $200,000 deficit, and a purchase order system in place to protect us from that, and I'm asking that that vote also be null and void until such time that a proper public hearing can be held and everybody can have their say about that.
Question about it?
Yep, duly noted, yes.
Who voted for it and why? Why would you want to change that?
What was the motion?
642, Royce Heath made a motion to temporarily suspend the purchase order program until further notice by the Board of Selectmen. Paul Nadeau seconded, 2 yeas, 1 no.
So what was the reasoning behind it?
Well, there was a lot of complaints about it, especially for small things. And we're working in this office on getting a card system in that would take care of it. But the card system, I think I heard about it first back in September of last year. And it hadn't been implemented yet. So people that had small purchases had to go, they had to make out a purchase order, it had to pass before the board, and then they had to come in again and get their purchase order from the treasurer, and then they could go and get whatever it was after we had signed it on the board. And this, when it comes down to small things, you know, you got, I'd say an item under $20, for instance, and something that someone gets maybe once a year, twice a year, something like that, or if it's a little emergency, I say little, you know, say a small item broke that was important to their particular office or whatever, they had to go through quite a rigmarole, spend quite a bit of their time to get this small item. It was an inconvenience, really.
So wouldn't you do a shop?
And that's why I said the word temporarily on there, because really, we just need to rework it. We need time.
So wouldn't it have been a better motion to perhaps say suspend purchase orders for purchases under $20 temporarily? Because to suspend purchase orders completely for any and all spending on town budgets is absolutely irresponsible.
But I disagree with that because we know the mess that we got into with the rescue department. We were buying candy, pizza, stuff that we didn't even need.
Right, stuff that.
So why do you want to do away with that?
Stuff that a lot of times went hundreds of dollars, and I agree that.
Okay, so
I'm trying to keep minutes and I'm confused because you disagreed with her statement?
Kinda, he did, yeah.
That's irresponsible to.
He's not my buddy, he doesn't even like me.
No, I don't care. I'm just trying to write minutes. I'm neutral at the moment. I'm trying to write minutes.
I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Royce is saying under $20.
Well, it's small.
No, I said that.
I'm saying
I said
small
that.
items.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I own a business. When I go to Home Depot, Lowe's, parts store, I make a
Well,
shopping list.
You pull out your card,
Don't
don't
you get a
you?
shopping list, Ben?
You pull
And
out your
you
card.
say, this is what I need, okay, so why not do that?
Oh,
If you know, if say I'm the fire chief, and you need parts for the truck, wouldn't you write a list of parts you need and submit them, or stuff you need for the department?
We'll make a note here as well, though, there are department heads that are still gonna, have told me they're still submitting purchase orders, because they know it's the responsible thing in protection.
Right, but I'm just saying that, you know, we're talking about $20, why don't they?
100%, because I mean, even in here, you know, we need to look ahead. I've said that for the last year. Why are we, all of a sudden, why is it an emergency that I need a printer ink? Because you're out. Why don't we have a backup, you know? And so, yes, supplies line is over this year because of that, because nobody's ever done that. So our supply line in this office, so I fully agree. It's just a matter of looking ahead and making that shopping list, as you say. I agree with that.
Well, let's not just say under $20, because you know as well as I do, we had kids' candy, pizza,
Right.
everything else was being bought through a department, and then in the end, we ended up footing the bill. So do we want to go back doing that again?
Well, we have coming in place right now, we've gone through several different banks. We were hoping Kennebunk Savings, when we changed banks, was going to be able to do this. It left us on the hook for several weeks, if not months, looking into the procurement cards. We now finally have a bank, I can't remember which bank it was now, but that can issue procurement cards that we have control over, that the treasurer would have control over by authority of the board. And that's what we were looking for. So,
Is that, you have to have pre-authorized spending to use that procurement card? Is that what it is?
What we're gonna set up
Yes.
is a procurement policy. We've been waiting for these cards to be in place. New board, so new discussion, but before it had been discussed about a $300 threshold. And you know, pure procurement cards would be preloaded, if you will, depending on who the department had and what their need was. Some may be $20, some may be $50, so the small amounts. Let's use EMA for an example. Not a whole lot going on, so you keep it down just to keep it active. You know, $10, $20, whatever it needs to be to keep it active. But, there's a hurricane coming this weekend, so we would have the ability here in the office to load that up, you know, $500 or $1,000 if you needed to, whatever, depending on what was coming on, without having to go through the bank and you know, request a credit increase, something like that. So even though the policy might say, you know, POs would be suspended $300 and under, they would have these procurement cards, which is just basically almost like a preloaded credit card, if you will, which still gives us a transaction bill, which now all billings are coming back to the town office, so you'll be able to still see. And if there was any candy or whatever bought on that, then there's gonna be disciplinary action.
Could we could we have that motion null and void until such a time as the procurement cards are available to our department heads? I don't want to leave anybody with just open spending for, I mean, what happens if this bank decides they can't do it and then you have to shop for another bank? This is premature, and it was not a legal vote anyway, as it wasn't on the agenda.
There's no such thing as open spending. You still have, as a department head, you still have to turn in your receipts to the office.
After the fact.
To the treasurer.
Unless you lost your receipt.
Yeah, after the fact.
Yeah, after the fact is the issue. I want it pre-approved. We've already been down this road, and
But it's like being a business and you just hand one of your employees a blank check and say, go buy whatever you think you need for the shop or whatever,
right.
right?
Right.
I mean, I'd never do that. How would you run a business that way?
So can we get a motion, fellas?
I just don't understand reason on some of the stuff that happened at the meeting, that's all.
I don't feel it's my place to read.
No, I don't think that. You already did one out of good faith, Ben. I think the person that made that motion needs to go ahead and.
The person that made that motion is going to leave it as it is. If somebody else.
Mr. Nadeau?
Yes, they can. At least until we can get the program straightened out.
I just think it's kind of odd that the first meeting, all of a sudden we have all these changes, the first meeting you two were at.
Right.
I mean, couldn't you at least wait like a month so it wouldn't be so conspicuous? No, really. The first meeting, all of a sudden they're going to change it back 50 years.
Mr. Nadeau, I'm asking you to null and void this motion until such a time as the procurement cards are in place, so that there is accountability for my taxpayer dollars. I'm asking you to do that now. Will you or will you not?
It doesn't really make that much difference.
Matters to me, and it matters to every person sitting in this room. We are your taxpayers, and you have sworn to protect us. And I'm asking you to protect us with the purchase order system that you voted to take out, leaving us with no protection of our department head spending. I'm asking you at this time to make that motion, yes or no.
It's been in place for a
And
while.
I'll ask you if you represent every taxpayer in this town.
I don't represent every taxpayer in this
Do you represent
town.
the majority of the taxpayers in town?
I don't know if I represent the majority of the
That's-
taxpayers in town, but I am one taxpayer.
Right, and we hear you.
Okay, so I'm asking
In all
Mr.
fairness-
Nadeau a question.
in all
I wasn't even
fairness, we're
speaking to
hearing
you,
you.
Royce. Well, that's good, I'm glad. And if you want to make jokes about my voice, Mr.
I'm not-
Nadeau
no,
is
no.
hard of hearing, and he wears a hearing aid.
No.
I'm speaking clearly out of respect for his hardness of hearing.
Said nothing,
So your
I meant
jokes
nothing.
about me can go flush yourself down the toilet.
meant nothing
I was
to
being
say.
respectful of Mr. Nadeau. Sir, I've asked you a question. Will you make that motion now to put that purchase order back in place temporarily until such time as the procurement cards can be put in to protect the taxpayers of Lebanon, Maine? Yes or no?
Wait a minute. How did we get it last
Royce? These are your minutes, which still need to be reviewed and approved anyway, or whatever you guys want to do.
I still don't understand why it was changed to begin with. What was the reason to change it? If it,
Hey, no,
if it's worked for a year, Paul, why would we want to change it?
The
Why
main
would we want to
reason-
go back the way we used to be when we got into a $200,000 debt? Why would we want to?
I heard people say they had to go out and look, get prices before they made it up. I thought it would be easier, that's all.
It's a
'Cause it
telephone
doesn't
call,
make
Carl.
any difference to me, but I thought.
It should make a difference to you. You're a selectman. You represent us.
Right.
So it should make a
No,
difference to
you
you.
know what I mean, I could see it either way.
Well, if I may, seeing as there was no discussion allowed for the other night,
Correct.
I'll give you an example of burning the stumps at the highway department. You know, the original PO request came in at $2,700. It was requested then to go out and get prices. I felt that was very high to burn stumps. And it came back around $1,600 to $1,800. So to request them to get other prices is actually saving us a lot of money. Becky?
You may not think that it's an important issue, but just the fact that it was decided after the official meeting had ended and everybody had gone
And we
home,
adjourned at that
that's
point?
reason to.
You went into executive session and
It
didn't,
wasn't adjourned, you were in executive.
you went in
session.
and didn't make it clear you were coming back.
It was not made, no ma'am.
It wasn't
not
done.
made in executive.
You weren't,
That
you
is
had,
against the law.
The executive lasted a long time when
It
it
did
came
last
back.
Right.
a long time, and we went home thinking it was all over.
That's exactly what happened.
no, you guys didn't make a notice that you were coming back from executive session, right?
But it wasn't on the agenda and.
Right.
Don't disagree.
I have a comment, simple comment. It's only good business to have a purchase order in business. I mean, you just don't go out and spend money willy-nilly and have somebody submit a bill. That's what was done in the past. That's why this town got milked for money. I'm not talking about $200,000, we're talking about other monies.
Could I make an addition to, Mr. Nadeau, the fellow that paid for your sign was very gleeful about that decision all over Facebook the other day, saying that, saying that now the right people could get in and that there wouldn't be, what did he call it? There wouldn't be limit on spending to better their departments. Sir, I have to say to you that it's not illegal for Jason Cole to come back and run again for public office, and it's not against the law for him to come in and get you folks to reassign him to rescue or to get you to reassign him to fire department. And there are two of his very good buddies right here, and it's not illegal because he was never charged and he was never committed a felony. But every person in this town is very, very worried about the fact that there is no spending limits right now because of a vote you and Mr. Heath made on Thursday night. You made that decision on Thursday night. I'm asking you to rescind that until such time as the procurement cards are available. That's all I'm asking. Just a couple of months, according to Mr. Thompson, until the procurement cards are available and there can be some accountability for the spending of my money in this town. That's all I'm asking.
Nope.
He's leaving that up to you, Mr. Nadeau.
Go ahead, make it. I'll make a motion, write it up.
Okay.
You make a motion just to reverse this motion?
Yeah.
And make it null and void?
Are we all actually saying the same thing?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Nadeau. You did the right thing.
I'll second the motion. That's not written yet.
So that motion is now null and void, and we'll go back to the purchase order system,
You
is it
made the
correct?
motion, Paul?
Yeah.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah,
All in favor?
yeah.
Aye. No?
Aye.
Aye, it's three.
Because,
All in
you
favor.
put, you got right in there about it.
Let me write it first. Let me write it first before we vote. How about that?
Okay,
Okay,
good.
make sure everybody's clear on the wording.
Yeah, I think the big important thing is that.
Keep up as fast as I can.
I think the important thing is the cards. That's at this point.
Okay, so, I move for discussion on that, I guess, and, you know, it's, in my opinion, is a lot wiser to continue on where we are, you know, with restrictions than to completely release them, knowing that the cards are coming. It doesn't make any sense to completely strip that away and know the cards are coming. The
Right.
policy's half written, we've been waiting for the cards to be in place. It's sitting in my computer half written.
So why wasn't this stuff discussed the other night then before you voted on it? I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know. Apparently
I
nothing
was
was discussed, it was just voted on.
I was blindsided.
He was blindsided that time. Came out of nowhere. Nobody was expecting it. It was on no agenda.
So they're trying to pass on.
Been a lot of votes made in this town that weren't on an agenda.
Well, you know what? From now on, they're gonna be.
That doesn't make it legal.
It doesn't make it illegal either.
Really? So we're gonna go back
You have a
10 years ago,
discussion, you-
Royce? Is that what we're gonna do? Start doing shit behind closed doors?
You
Nope,
can't make policy decisions.
not happening now. Why should it happen?
That's
Apparently it
right.
happened the other night because you already changed 2 of your votes. Because the people brought it forward.
We finally had a discussion.
So why didn't you have a discussion the other night?
I don't know.
Right, exactly.
We
You're the one who made the motion.
We
so-
could've, well, because when you're
You can make all the
I don't
excuses
need
you
to
want, Royce.
do
You
I
can
need
make
to
all the
describe
excuses
how
you
it
want.
works?
We don't care. I know how it works.
I know how it works.
No, you don't.
I've been
20
reading
years.
state law for 4
Okay?
days.
Royce,
I know how it works.
how selectmen meeting works. You can tell me all you want, and you're just blowing smoke. And you don't have to blow it up me, okay?
Got nothing more to say to you, Mr. Gilpatrick.
Good.
That is so
And I know what
rude.
you're
I
about.
got a comment, if I may. I don't know any of you people real well, and I'm probably not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm not completely stupid. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to this. And I'm either thinking one or two things. Either this board has a high degree of sleaze factor, or has a very low intelligence. I'm not sure. One of the two, I'm almost positive, is playing into this. And I don't know if it's a real high sleaze or if we got a low IQ here. Something's wrong. Something's wrong.
I'll second that.
And I'll third it if you need 3.
I'm not looking for any seconds. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you.
100%.
I had an
But that
opinion
doesn't
to offer,
include all
would
board
be
members.
that perhaps we're trying to satisfy what the majority of the people want.
You're not doing a good job, I don't think.
Well, I know we're not satisfying the majority of the people here tonight, but there's a whole lot of other voters out there too,
And
who you don't
And when
see,
they express this,
who we don't see until a really important issue comes up and all of a sudden they're out there.
No, I don't think that next week they're all gonna be crowded in here telling you we don't like it.
But we will be.
No, we're gonna be here to see who shows up.
And there's a really good chance that it's not sleaze factor, and it's not lack of intelligence, that it's a learning curve, and the learning curve is going like this, because you guys have not had that much experience.
I would agree with that.
We're
because-
getting there, but we got one that's
Well,
2 years now, one that's 1 year.
I wouldn't
I would
want to
agree-
run
I would
a
agree
town
with
on
that.
2 years'
Yeah.
experience.
Because, I mean,
No, honestly, that's more my perception of what's going on is, you know, people trying to come and represent some of their community enough so that they got themselves elected.
again, let me say that, you know, that's one of the things
Experience,
that when I came in,
they're
you had to
knowledgeable.
learn, Karen and I had talked about, we all got it's tough, because if we would put any one of you in the seat, so I'm gonna give it that to Paul, I'm gonna give that to Royce, and, you know, anybody that comes in the seat got preconceived notions. Oh, I'm gonna do this,
Everybody.
you know, everybody has that, but then you gotta step back and say, that's what I wanna do, you know, I gotta do what's best for the people, you know, I think there's other ways to look at it than what's just been, you know, done the other night. But, you know, I may disagree with something, but I still gotta lay it out in front of the board. I may disagree with something going on the ballot personally, but it's not my place to say that's not going on the ballot. My place is to say, you know, whatever my vote is behind the closed curtain. And, you know, I personally have a hard time making a vote as a selectman because I think it steers the people. I don't like that. By state law, it's mandated that we do that. I don't like it. Maybe I should abstain on every one of them because I don't like it. I want you to read the question and make your own decision, but that's me.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that with any new job,
There's a learning.
there's a learning curve, and you're going to make mistakes. And making mistakes is not the end of the world. You can apologize, you can change your mind. I mean, I taught school for 24 years. When I first started out, I didn't know what I was doing. I made a lot of mistakes. I ended up apologizing a lot. And even right up to the last year I was teaching, there were still things that were coming up that I hadn't encountered for. I might make the wrong judgment call. I apologized and moved on. And I think that's where you guys are at tonight. You're apologizing and you're moving on. You're fixing the mistake so you can continue learning.
And now you know the proper way.
But I don't think it's a learning curve, it's your first meeting that you give your boss's benefits back. That's not a learning curve, that's an agenda.
I think that
I don't care how you think.
Well, I think we've been educated on what an agenda is, and we've introduced a conflict of interest, and we've introduced the concept that we probably need to do some serious reading and research on what we are and are not allowed to do, when and how we're allowed to do it. And
Terry, it doesn't matter, it's been going on for years in this town. It's
Yeah,
never
but-
gonna change.
but not by him,
It's never
and
gonna-
not by him, and not by him.
Right,
It's never
that's
gonna
right.
He's
change.
only been here so long, and he's only been here so long, and he's only been here so long.
It don't take brain surgeon to figure out what a conflict is.
That's right. My problem comes when you show somebody the law, you tell somebody the law, and hand it to them in writing, and they
Kevin, make
refuse
this motion.
to reverse it.
Written the motion, it's Paul's motions. So Paul's making the motion, let's see if you agree with it, to reverse the vote to suspend the purchase order system made on 6/11/15 and reinstitute the prior board's policy to require all items to be pre-approved by a purchase order signed by a quorum of the board. Do you agree with that? That is your motion? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Your vote? Changing it?
Well, you didn't put anything in there about the cards, about the program, key cards,
He's not gonna change.
procurement cards. Remember we
If you wanna make a
discussed-
motion, please do.
Make a new motion, right?
No, I don't wanna ruin your motion that you have, but I would like to amend it so it includes those cards. Can you do that?
I don't have enough information as to when they'll be instituted, if that's what you're asking.
So that we hold that until they can be instituted.
We're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
What's that?
This is motion until the cards come in.
It's not in there. I don't know when, yeah, I can do
I
that.
think it's pretty
Leave it.
close, just
Over the board.
from what I've heard
You got two
around the office,
What's it?
that we were pretty close on it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I don't wanna, you'd have to write it, you'd have to word it, because I'm not going to, and I'm not gonna do it until the cards come in, because that's gonna make this completely null and void all purchase orders in the future when the cards come in, so.
Right.
You know, it's gonna be a full policy that's written and thrown in front of the board at that point in time. Motion on the table right now is that all items go through, before the board for pre-approval
With a purchase
with a
order.
purchase order, to be approved by a quorum of the board or more.
I'm gonna vote no on it 2 years?
2 yeses and 1 no.
Oh, 2 years, 1 no, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's my hand scratching
It's called a
shorthand.
Mine's worse.
So we done with that one? Because I want to go home. I got one
I'm still
more.
gonna write all these.
I know, bud, I know.
No.
But, so at any rate, the final one that was voted on, which was actually a legal vote because it was not left open for discussion, it was not on the agenda, was to make Tom Torno the acting road commissioner. And there was no discussion on it, there was never any agenda on it, nobody in town had any ideas about it. I'd like to open the discussion by saying I think Tom is completely qualified. I think he's been on this town's roads since he was a young guy. I think he knows everything back. I have no problem with it. The only thing that I want to know is, number one, prior to handing him this commission, did somebody have a talk with him about the fact that as of June 9th, if you make him the acting road commissioner, he's no longer a town employee. He's not eligible for benefits. He's coming under the road commissioner, and he's a young man. And I want to know if somebody had a talk with him prior to just saying to him, hey, guess what, Tommy? You're following after Daddy's footsteps. Did you tell him he's no longer eligible for the benefits he's been receiving under the town? Or did you just take it upon yourself to give him this glory so that he thought he was getting a great thing?
He's not elected.
You appointed him as the road commissioner. He takes over the acting, or the leftover part of his father's election, so therefore he's acting as an elected person. He no longer has the right to town benefits after the June 9th vote, and I want to know if somebody let Tom Torno know that he's cut off now, before you just like gave him the glory and made everybody in town say, oh yay Tommy, congratulations, congratulations, because I don't think that you guys gave one bit of thought to protecting Tom Torno while he's learning this job as road commissioner, and then to make a decision whether or not he wants to run for election and give up his town benefits. I don't think one of you gave any thought to Tom Torno. I think that you guys only gave thought to Larry, because you've made it very clear that Larry is your entire agenda. And everybody in this town liked Larry, and everybody in this town cares about Tom, and nobody more than I. And I want to know if he is understanding of the fact that he's no longer eligible for the benefits he's been receiving. I want to know if you had that discussion with him.
No, I didn't.
Did anybody? Don't you think it's your job prior to putting him in and appointing him to tell him the changes that your decision is going to make in his life? Don't you think that that's up to you? Yes or no?
I didn't talk to him.
Did anybody?
I don't know.
Ben?
I did not.
Royce?
I voted against it.
Did you all understand that you were taking away his benefits for the remainder of his father's term?
I voted against it.
I know you did. I'm asking you. Did you understand you were taking away his benefits for the remainder of his father's term? Well, then I think that what you need to do is that you guys as a board need to rescind that vote that you took illegally on June 11th, appointing Tom Torno until you figure out with him. Yeah, you talk it over and you figure it out. Because I don't know if he understands that he has no benefits.
If you're going to discuss benefits, exactly what benefits is he getting now?
I don't know. That's not my business. It's a personnel issue. I just want to know, I don't know if he is getting health insurance or not, but his ability to have that health insurance has just been taken away from
I actually
him.
asked you what your question means.
Right.
What is Tom getting for benefits?
He can't discuss that with us.
I can't disclose exactly, exacts, because that falls under personnel, but if he meets any of the requirements that are set forward.
He no longer has them.
As an employee of the town, as a road supervisor, he met all the requirements to have full benefits. All benefits that were offered as an employee of the town. Employees, benefits include health, dental.
And isn't he on a set paycheck right now for a week?
He's on, yeah, because he's salaried, because he's a supervisor.
Yeah.
Well, I can say what it is, but I mean, he's salaried. because he's a road supervisor, so he meets every requirement of a salaried exemption of the Department of Labor. So that's why he is salaried.
So what I'm saying to you guys,
I got a problem with that whole appointment thing. Because when you appoint somebody, why not just have an election? Why should he,
Okay.
nothing against Tommy, nothing against Larry or anything else. Why should he just step into that position? Why should, listen to it, why should he be just appointed to that position instead of having an election? Because if he's in that position for a year, and then you have an election afterwards, the same thing that happened when Jimmy Abbott took over. He automatically steps into that election as the winner, because that's how it works.
that's right.
So if we're
He shouldn't. He should be appointed as road supervisor underneath the eyes of the selectmen. He's
Exactly.
learning right now how to be the road
Well,
commissioner,
I
and
will-
then when election comes
I want
up,
to answer your
he
question
gets
because
it.
there's a lot of confusion out there as to why things have been done the way they've been done in certain reasons, okay? Unfortunately, I got a brand new phone today and I hate the thing, you know, it's a little learning curve, so I can't access my email like I used to be able to. But it is illegal for us to hold an election for any elected position until that term has expired. We cannot do it. We don't even have that option, except for selectmen. You have the option, yes or no, you don't have to, but, you know, when Selectman Cole stepped down, you know, we weighed out at the time whether we wanted to continue through until June, or what was best for the people of the town was to, you know, hold an election. It's gonna cost more money for that additional election, so that's why we kind of had to weigh that out. That's the only position that you can do that on. You know, so apart from that, you have two options on the table legally. And is that the board retained road commissioner as a board of road commissioners, not because we're looking for power, because there was problems with that position that we had to clear up with the benefits and things like that. The vote that was just taken cleared that up. It obviously, very clearly, the voters of this town voted against what was going on. You know, apart from that, I mean, I'll go on record, I called Tommy myself the other night. I did call him to let him know what the board had decided, because I asked him, had anybody contacted him? He said no, somebody needed to. And let him know that this is a decision made, and I also told him that I voted against it, and I told him why. I appreciate the job he was doing. I think he was doing a great job. He was communicating with the board very efficiently. I do not feel it right, and our personnel policy clearly states that we are to post every job opening in this town. So to not do that goes against the personnel policy that was written and voted on by former board in 2010. So that is why, and just ethically, it's not good to slide people into positions.
Exactly.
It's not transparent.
Did we or did we not make an appointment to a road supervisor?
There was a position that did not exist, and you promoted within the department somebody that already had the
I think all
qualifications.
we're doing is playing on words, he's still doing the same.
Not a-
Yeah, that's exactly what you're
Then
doing.
why make the motion the other night then?
That's right.
Exactly.
If that's the truth, why make the motion the other night?
Paul's
right.
right there, and he's hell bent on having Tommy in there to take Larry's place. He even said that at the candidates night.
Yeah.
So, is he even thinking about the taxpayers? Is he even thinking about the taxpayers, or is he thinking about his own personal feelings?
I'm not gonna answer that, I don't know. He's gonna answer that.
You wanna answer that, Paul? Are you thinking about the town, or are you thinking about your own personal
I
feelings?
was thinking about the town. Tommy's doing a good job.
So why not just leave him the way he is?
What is it you wanna do, Chris?
Leave him where he is till the election.
I want you to give the kid back his benefits is what I want you to give him. That's what I personally would like to see, is give the kid back his full-time position, his benefits, and let him learn the position and then run for road commissioner when the job comes up for election. And that's the right thing to do
Show
it.
us what those benefits are.
We all
The
have.
benefits are
Bring
any
them out.
town benefit he's
You're
eligible
a
for.
selectman, Royce, you should know what he's getting for benefits.
I don't know. You're the one that won't talk to
Why is he
anybody about
selectman, Royce? You're a
personnel.
selectman. You don't know what he's getting for benefits?
He knows, and
I know
whether,
he
but
knows.
whether or not
But he thinks we're
I'm thinking that
he signs up for them, he's eligible for them. And that's the thing. To put him in as road commissioner takes all of that eligibility away from him. If that kid needed to sign up for health insurance tomorrow, he couldn't do it because of what you did on Thursday night.
Please let me know when it's my turn to speak.
That's your turn, go.
Okay. I don't see any difference in its benefits at all from a selectman's point of view, and there's only so far we can go with this too.
You just
The guy's personal stuff we cannot discuss, is that correct?
Can't give specifics, but you can discuss that whether he's eligible or not.
And this is the question I've asked, is what difference is there here?
100% July 1st, ineligible by town
Exactly.
vote.
Well, maybe we should go ask
believe-
Tommy what his benefits
Yeah, you're
are.
saying that, but what is he getting for benefits before
It's
this
not
vote?
anybody's
What was
business
he
what
getting?
he's eligible, what
He
he's
wasn't
getting.
paid, as far as I know, he wasn't getting paid any overtime.
You can't talk about that, Royce.
All right, so your benefits are packaged as offered.
That's not saying, that's saying he's set with a salary. When a person is set with a salary, you don't get overtime.
We're
the
not talking
town
about
pays
overtime, we're
that
talking
certain
about
thing.
his eligibility for benefits.
And we all know that we don't get, if we have salaries, we don't get certain benefits in
Does
this town.
benefits in
not
this
true.
town include
That's not
vacation pay?
That's not what the law says.
Ben? Does
Salary positions are exempt from certain items, but overtime's not your benefits. That's not identified by your.
Okay.
Ben, is benefits including
Insurances?
vacation pay?
Things like that, you know.
Your benefits include vacation pay, your benefits include health, dental, IPP. All these are offered.
So that kid just
eye
lost his
vision.
vacation pay too, is what you're telling me, right? Yeah, oh, no vacation pay.
So you were planning on
Paid
giving all
holidays?
this to him if he won the next election, right?
If he chooses to run, knowing what he's going
No,
into, that's
you're
his.
confused,
I sure am.
because
And I think a lot of others are.
whether he had it or not, okay, is up to him what he chose as far as healthcare, anything else. But he was eligible for this package of benefits as any other full-time employee,
They take
okay?
it out of your paycheck, Royce.
Underneath the
But how
supervisor
do you,
position.
how do you
Under
define
the
employee?
roads supervisor.
Supervisor, he's not the road commissioner, he's the supervisor.
How do you
There's a
define-
difference.
How do you define employee?
Somebody who's not elected.
Royce,
Is an employee a salaried person?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can be an employee salary,
Okay.
DOL, Department of Labor.
but as of July 1st, he has no more vacation pay, Roy, so you took that away from that kid.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. You took away his eligibility for benefits. If he should need to tomorrow sign up for them, he cannot, because you took them away.
What I gave him, and
Was
I
a
don't
title.
know what we.
Was a title. That's
we
exactly what you gave him.
Yes, and with the road commissioner's title comes certain things. He can go out and decide what he needs to get, which roads need to get done, and such.
He can still
And who's
decide
in
that
the
now,
best
come
spot?
tell you.
Not until you strip the PO system.
hey Royce, if you know anything about a road commissioner's position, actually, before a road commissioner does a project, he's supposed to submit the cost to the selectmen. And they decide whether or not that project gets
That's
done.
right. That
Right.
is correct. And
So
that's
you
the same.
can talk of what you wanna talk, but you don't even know what you're talking about.
I won't introduce that.
I will say, I mean, just because I'm going to go on record and I finally get a little bit of a voice, that we all have different talents. We all come to the table with different talents. We know that. Okay? I come across probably as a pretty arrogant little prick sometimes. Sorry.
Well,
I never called you that.
I know, but
And I never
no,
will.
I have seen, you know, what's right. And, you know, and I'm sorry, but I'm confident, because you know why? I've been a manager for a long time. I've worked for myself for 19 years, but I've been a manager at 19 years old, supervising 30 some odd people. So I can look at Tommy and I think there's a lot of great qualities there.